On my wedding night, I was covered with a red veil, hiding a dagger in my sleeve and clutching my household register and ID card in my arms. I had been reborn, and I was determined to kill my husband, Deng Gang, and then run away. Someone tiptoed into the bridal chamber. From the sound of the footsteps, I knew it wasn't my husband. Who could it be? The veil was lifted, and it was my sister-in-law. She whispered to me, "Sister-in-law, I'm giving you this one chance. Will you run away with me?" My sister-in-law is named Deng Shanshan. I'm not very familiar with her, but in my previous life, she ran away from Deng village and changed her own destiny. Deng Shanshan took out a packet of powder and said to me, "This is knockout powder. Put it in my brother's wine. After he drinks the wedding toast and falls asleep, we'll run away." I shook my head. Deng Shanshan thought I didn't dare and turned to leave with the powder, saying as she walked, "Forget it. You're too timid. I'll do it myself." It wasn't that I was timid, but rather that Deng Gang simply wouldn't drink the wedding toast with me. In my previous life, I was captivated by Deng Gang's handsome appearance at first sight, and on top of that, the bride price his family offered was the highest in the entire region. On our wedding night, he lifted the bridal veil and realized it was me. He didn't even drink the ceremonial wine with me. Instead, he beat me severely because the woman he truly wanted to marry wasn't me, but my cousin. In my past life, I toiled like an ox for 10 years in the Deng family. In the end, Deng Gang brought another woman home, knocked me unconscious, and threw me off a cliff, shattering my body to pieces. A few days ago, I was reborn, knowing that I couldn't change my fate of marrying Deng Gang. I decided to kill him and his father. Since death was inevitable anyway, I might as well take 2 others down with me. In my previous life, that old beast of a father-in-law tormented me endlessly. So, on my wedding night, I brought a dagger. If he laid a hand on me, I would wait until he was exhausted from beating me and then kill him. A moment later, Deng Shanshan helped Deng Gang in from outside and threw him to the ground. "What a dead pig." Deng Shanshan kicked Deng Gang and said to me, "Come over and help me get him onto the bed." I quickly helped carry the unconscious Deng Gang to the bed. Deng Shanshan then forced a packet of powder into his mouth and began searching his body. "Haha. Just as I thought," Deng Shanshan exclaimed in delight, having found a large amount of cash on Deng Gang. The gift money he had received. Deng Shanshan pocketed all the money and turned to me again, asking, "What's your name? You and my brother haven't registered your marriage yet, so it's not appropriate to call you sister-in-law." My eyes lit up, since he and I weren't really a married couple. I was still a free person. That meant I could run away if I wanted to, especially since I had my ID card and household register with me. If I killed someone, I'd have to pay with my life. Since I could live, who would want to die? I excitedly said to Deng Shanshan, I'm Li Hui." "Oh," Deng Shanshan responded and said, "From now on, I'll call you Hua Hui, and you can call me Shanshan. Did you bring your household register and ID card?" I nodded. According to local customs, we had to hold the wedding ceremony first before registering our marriage. In fact, many people didn't even care whether they had a marriage certificate or not, so I easily took my household registration booklet and ID card. Now, Deng Gang was dealt with, but what about his father, Deng Jianren? Deng Jianren was a hunter, skilled, highly alert, and able to drink endlessly without getting drunk. Deng Shanshan said proudly, "Have you ever heard the saying, 'No one knows a father like his daughter'?" I looked at Deng Shanshan, wondering what kind of surprise she had in store for me. Deng Shanshan patted her chest and said, "The knockout drops I gave my dad could knock out an ox for 2 days. If I weren't so beautiful and kind-hearted, I wouldn't have called you." I remembered that in my previous life, my sister-in-law had also tried to persuade me to leave, but I refused her, thinking I could move Deng Gang. Later, she drugged her father-in-law's wine and took all of his savings. Deng Shanshan glanced at me and said, "Hurry up and change your clothes, bring 2 or 3 sets of summer clothes to change into, and let's go." I nervously looked at Deng Shanshan and asked, "Where are we going?" "To the south," Deng Shanshan said casually as she walked outside. I was afraid Deng Shanshan would leave me behind, so I quickly asked, "Where are you going?" Deng Shanshan calmly replied, "I'm going to see if my father has any money on him." "Don't," I said cautiously. "If you take your father's money, he'll hit your mother." Deng Shanshan froze in place, and it took her a moment to snap out of it before saying, "Then hurry up, let's go through the back door." In her previous life, Deng Shanshan stole her father-in-law's money, with no one else to vent his anger on. The father-in-law blamed her mother-in-law for failing to raise their daughter properly and directly broke one of her arms and one of her legs. It took me half a year of care for her to recover. I quickly changed my clothes, grabbed a cloth bag, and packed a towel along with 2 or 3 sets of spare clothes. I had heard in my past life that the weather in the south was very hot, so there was no need to bring too much. After all, I could always buy more later when I had money. Deng Shanshan also only brought 2 sets of spare clothes and her identification documents. We sneaked to the back door, where an elderly woman in her 80s or 90s was sitting at the entrance. Holding 2 pieces of wedding candy, she asked, "Whose little girl are you? Would you like some candy?" She is Deng Shanshan's grandmother. She is old, can't recognize people clearly, and has the intelligence of a 3-year-old child. She requires year-round care. In my previous life, my mother-in-law and I took turns looking after her for 5 years before she passed away. We ignored her, rode away on the 2 28-inch bicycles from the back door. The train station is dozens of miles away from the village. If we had walked, we wouldn't have arrived until daybreak. We rode for 2 hours and made it to the train station. The conductor asked where we were going, and Shanshan said Guangzhou. I knew that place. It was where Shanshan had worked in her previous life. The conductor printed several tickets for us and explained which stop each ticket corresponded to and how to transfer, perhaps because there were few people at night. The conductor was especially patient. Soon, we boarded a green-skinned train and finally breathed a sigh of relief. The carriage we boarded had only the 2 of us, so we lay down directly on the 3-seater bench. I had been exhausted since the morning, first dealing with my parents' home, then going to my in-laws, and finally cycling to the station. Tired and drowsy, I quickly fell asleep. Suddenly, a sharp scream jolted me awake from my sleep. Instinctively, I covered my chest with my hand. My documents and money were all there. Fortunately, everything was still there. I breathed a sigh of relief. I looked at Deng Shanshan across from me, sweating all over, screaming continuously. "No, I don't want to die. I've given you all my money, please." Fortunately, there were only the 2 of us in the entire carriage. I walked over to Deng Shanshan's side and held her cold hand. I don't know what she dreamed about, but I imagine it wasn't a good dream. Maybe she even dreamed about her past life. I touched her forehead. She had a fever. I was instantly terrified. If anyone found out she was sick, we would likely be kicked off the train and miss all the subsequent ones. I forced myself to stay calm, fetched cold water with a towel in the restroom, and applied it to Shanshan's forehead. I lost count of how many trips I made back and forth. Thank goodness, by daybreak, Shanshan's fever had subsided, and she was no longer talking nonsense. I helped her sit properly and then sat down beside her myself. Afraid that the train attendant would notice something amiss and kick us off, we finally arrived at the transfer station. I helped Deng Shanshan off the train and was about to ask someone where to transfer when she suddenly grabbed my hand and said, "I know the way. First, help me sit over there." I helped Shanshan sit on a bench on the platform. She asked me to buy milk, eggs, and bread, and we sat there eating together. After eating, Shanshan had regained a lot of her energy and seemed much more spirited. She checked both of our tickets, told me to relax, and then took me to the waiting room. In the waiting room, she told me that from now on, I should tell people I'm her cousin, listen to her, and not talk to strangers casually. But as soon as we got on the train, she started chatting with other passengers. She even bought a deck of cards, taught me games I had never played before, and played with other passengers, making the whole carriage lively and cheerful because of her. By the time we arrived at our final destination, Guangzhou, Deng Shanshan had already made several friends, who warmly took us to a toy factory for an interview. Shanshan, being quick and nimble, passed the interview on the spot. However, due to years of manual labor, the calluses on my hands caused the toys to snag and fray, so I didn't pass. I stood there feeling lost, unsure of what to do next. Deng Shanshan held my hand and gave me a reassuring look. Then she blinked her eyes, looked at the supervisor who was interviewing us, and said, "Handsome, my cousin is hardworking and cooks really well. Could you please see if there's any cleaning or nanny job you could introduce to my cousin? I'm begging you." After saying that, Shanshan secretly slipped a handful of money into the supervisor's pocket. The supervisor was very pleased with Shanshan's performance and said it seemed like the boss's family was looking for a maid, and he would take me to try it out later. The boss's surname is Li. He's from Taiwan, and he speaks very gently. His family happened to be in need of a maid to help in the kitchen. I entered the kitchen, where several chefs were learning how to cook from a middle-aged man. The middle-aged man, having heard that I was applying for a job as a kitchen maid, explained the key points of slicing fish and asked me to slice a fish fillet on the spot. I knew this would determine whether I could stay here, so I immediately focused all my attention and, following his instructions, selected a fish from the tank. Then, I skillfully scaled it, removed the gills and internal organs, took out the fishy line, and finally sliced it into the fillet he wanted. The middle-aged man nodded, indicating that I could stay. He continued explaining the key points of cooking fish to several chefs, and I listened attentively beside them. By the time they finished explaining the method for preparing sliced fish in hot chili oil, I had already grasped about 70 to 80% of it. Looking at the messy dishes they had made, I only regretted not having the chance to try it myself. Immediately after, the middle-aged man went on to explain the methods for preparing white-cut chicken and hand-shredded chicken. After he finished explaining, he told me how to chop and how to arrange the dish on the plate. I followed his instructions exactly as he required. The middle-aged man was very satisfied with my performance. Before leaving, he told the boss that if the kitchen wasn't short-staffed, I could go to the hotel to help out in the kitchen. That was when I found out that the boss's family not only owned a toy factory but also a hotel. In the end, I stayed at the boss's place because they were short-staffed, the work was easier, and the pay was higher. Working at the hotel would have required a lot of paperwork and certifications. The middle-aged man was the head chef at the hotel, surnamed CAI. Everyone called him Brother CAI. He spends 2 days every week at home teaching the chef how to cook the boss's favorite dishes. And I can secretly learn too. Shanshan told me to keep my skills hidden. Even if I learn something, I shouldn't say so, or the capitalists will exploit me. I didn't really understand what Shanshan meant, but I always listened to her. Every time I learn a new dish, I secretly make it for her without telling anyone else. Although both the factory and the boss's home provide dormitories, Shanshan and I rented a small room together outside, keeping each other warm and cheering each other on. Not long after, Shanshan told me she wanted to bring her boyfriend home and asked me to prepare a few dishes, saying they were the kind of food the guy would like. I understood clearly. These were the same dishes that Shanshan's husband in my previous life had loved to eat. In this life, I secretly learned from Brother CAI how to cook, and the dishes I made were several times more appealing and delicious than in my past life. When Shanshan's boyfriend, Li Shuhuan, took a bite of the food, his eyes lit up, and he said our rental apartment was too small. He had a villa where we could move in. Yes, it's us, me and Shanshan together. Li Shuhuan is a man who loves good food and beautiful women. Shanshan's looks captured his heart, and my cooking won over his stomach, so he wants both of us to move into his villa. I said I would listen to whatever Shanshan says. Shanshan said she wouldn't live in a man's house without any status or commitment. She has hands and feet and doesn't want to rely on others. Li Shuheng seemed to really like Shanshan's attitude of wanting both independence and security. If she truly didn't want to rely on him, why would she go to such lengths to flirt with him and then bring him home to win him over with my cooking? Li Shuheng came to our rented apartment to eat for about 6 months. Just as our salaries and the money we had taken from home were almost spent, he proposed to Shanshan. He gave Shanshan a villa, a restaurant, and a bank card as betrothal gifts. As Shanshan's only relative and elder, all of these were registered under my name. I don't know what these mean to me, but since Shanshan asked me to take them, I kept them. I quit my job as a kitchen helper at the Li family's house. I worked there for a few months, and aside from the butler and the chef, probably no one even remembers me, let alone Li Shuhuan, the young master. Shanshan moved into the Li family's villa, while I moved into my own restaurant and started learning how to manage and operate it. When the restaurant was first given to me, business wasn't great. If I didn't run it, I could have transferred it out and collected rent, but I wanted to give it a try. So I kept improving the dishes, and the restaurant's business was booming. Shanshan opened a bank account for me and frequently deposited money into it. Li Shuhuan often gave her gifts, which she would then exchange for cash and deposit into the bank account. Li Shuhuan often came to my restaurant to eat. If he came alone, I would always offer the meal for free, but if he brought a group of people, I would double the price. This was something Shanshan taught me. Just like that, 2 years passed, and suddenly Shanshan mysteriously asked me, "What would you think about bringing my dad and brother here to work?" I was a bit panicked, and Shanshan grabbed my hand, saying, "This is our turf, with me here, what are you afraid of?" That's right, what am I afraid of? Legally speaking, Deng Gang and I have no relationship at all, nowadays. I'm not the unsophisticated village girl from my past life who had never seen the world. Besides, I still have Shanshan. Looking at her, I felt as if I had taken a tranquilizer. With all our money in my hands, what did I have to fear? Shanshan told me that she felt sorry for her mother. Her father and brother were no good, and only by bringing them to the city could her mother live a better life. As for her father and brother, no matter how tough they acted in the village, once they came to the city, wouldn't they be at our mercy? Not long after, Deng Jianren and his son Deng Gang came from the countryside. Shanshan and I went to pick them up, bringing a girl along. That girl is called Xiangxiang, the very woman who had an affair with Deng Gang in her previous life, and she is now working under Shanshan. Following Shanshan's advice, I wore the same shirt and trousers I had on when I first arrived in Guangzhou, and I braided my hair into 2 pigtails. When Deng Gang saw me, his face was full of contempt and disgust, his eyes fixed directly on Xiangxiang. It was then that I remembered. In this life, Deng Gang had only glanced at me once during the matchmaking, without even lifting the bridal veil, so he had no idea who I was. As soon as Deng Jianren met Shanshan, he wanted to scold her, but Shanshan immediately stepped forward and cooed, "Dad, didn't we agree?" I don't know what Shanshan had said to Deng Jianren earlier, but he immediately put on a smiling face. Shanshan drove, and I sat in the passenger seat, while the 3 of them sat in the back. Shanshan said with a smile, "Dad, whoever gets their driver's license first between you and my brother, I'll give this car to them." The father and son's eyes immediately lit up, and Xiangxiang's eyes were also shining. Shanshan brought his father and brother to an apartment in the city. Shanshan had told me about this apartment. It was bought by Li Shuheng with the intention of using it as an office, but it was too far from the factory and difficult to manage, so it was left vacant. Shanshan had already made it feel like a home. He said to Deng Gang, "Brother, it was wrong of me to take your betrothal gift back then, but in a way, I also saved your love life. At least you're still single now. Consider this apartment my compensation to you. It can be your future wedding home." 2 years had passed, and Deng Gang must have already visited my parents and realized that the person he married wasn't my cousin. I can even imagine the scene when they go to my parents to return the betrothal gifts, and both sides start arguing. My mother is a shrew, and my father is also fierce. Given their personalities, if they find out I've run away, not only will they not return the Deng family's betrothal gifts, but they will also demand compensation from the Deng family. The Deng family loses both the bride and the money, so naturally, they won't give my parents any compensation. They can only admit their bad luck and swallow the loss in silence. Deng Gang grinned from ear to ear and said to Shanshan, "What nonsense are you talking about? I don't even know what that woman looks like. Nowadays, marriage is free, and of course, I, your brother, will rely on my own ability to marry the girl I like." After speaking, he gave Xiangxiang a meaningful glance. While she blushed and lowered her head, I sneered inwardly, thinking, "Rely on yourself." In my previous life, a large portion of the betrothal gifts their family gave me came from selling her eldest sister, didn't it? That's why her eldest sister never returned to her parents' home again. After settling Deng Gang and his son, the 3 of us girls left. From start to finish, Deng Gang and his son didn't even glance at me properly, nor did they ask for my name. Shanshan and I are both very satisfied with this outcome. After that, I never appeared in the sight of the father and son again. I threw away all the clothes from 2 years ago, put on the latest styles, got a wavy perm, wore high heels, and became the restaurant owner again. Another half-month passed, and Xiangxiang came to my restaurant to eat with Deng Gang. The 2 were very intimate, looking like a loving couple. Shanshan told me that Deng Gang works as a security guard at Li Shuhuan's toy factory, and Deng Jianren works as a gatekeeper. Shanshan privately told them that Li Shuhuan's parents looked down on her because she was from the countryside, so they didn't hold a wedding ceremony and were not considered a married couple. She warned them not to reveal their relationship, or else both of them would lose their jobs. Xiangxiang naturally liked Li Shuhuan, but he didn't even give her a glance. Under the dual pressure from Shanshan and Deng Gang, Xiang eventually compromised on her love and married Deng Gang by registering their marriage by the end of the year. Shan helped Deng Gang and Xiong book their return train tickets. Since Xiong was pregnant, according to the village custom, they should hold a wedding ceremony. Deng Jianren was left at the factory because there were many thieves at the end of the year, and the security guard couldn't leave, as in previous years. Shan told her husband that she would return to her parents' home and celebrate the new year with me in our house. On New Year's Eve, Shan and I raised our glasses of red wine. This was the 3rd year since we left the village. Now, we have a new restaurant, several houses, and savings. Shanshan's New Year's wish is to get a smooth divorce after the new year and then live freely with me. As the New Year's firecrackers sounded, Shanshan's phone also rang. It was her father, whose leg had been broken by a thief. Because of Shanshan and Li Shuhuan's relationship, the Li family paid 200,000 to settle the matter peacefully. After Deng Gang received the news, all procedures on this side had already been completed. Shanshan alone sent Deng Jianren back home and gave the 100,000 yuan to his mother. Although Deng Jianren wanted to cause trouble, one of his legs was already broken, making it difficult for him to even walk. How could he possibly stir up trouble? Deng Gang still wanted to come to Guangzhou, but Shanshan refused, telling him and Xiang to focus on raising the child well and giving them another 100,000 yuan. Shanshan always remembered that she and Deng Gang were once like siblings. Not long after, Shanshan divorced Li Shuhuan because, after marriage, she had never shown any signs of pregnancy, and the Li family placed great importance on having descendants. The two divorced peacefully. Li Shuhuan did not ask for the bride price back and even gave Shanshan some additional compensation. I know that. In fact, Shanshan's health is not an issue. She was pregnant once before, but she had an abortion, and she has been taking birth control pills ever since. So, over the past 2 years, Shanshan has gained a lot of weight, which is why Li Shuheng shifted his affection to someone else. We sold the restaurant near the toy factory, moved to a new location, bought a building, and opened a new restaurant. Shanshan and I run it together, and the business is much better than before, but all the money Shanshan kept in my account. She said I was an independent person, while she still carried many burdens herself. Indeed, over the past 2 years, I've encountered some fellow villagers and gathered some information about my family. My parents seemed quite pleased that I had disappeared from the Deng family. They didn't care at all where I had gone or how I was doing, since the bride price money had already ended up in their hands. To them, I had become completely worthless. After I had money, I spent it to settle in Guangzhou, completely cutting ties with my family. Shanshan never moved her household registration to Guangzhou because she missed her mother. Her mother was indeed a very good person, much better than my own. In my previous life, when I lived with the Deng family and had a hard time, she would help me with work and household chores. When I was beaten, she would apply medicine for me, treating me even better than my own mother did. What my mother gave me was endless work, and what my father and brother gave me was endless beatings. Shanshan had a landline phone installed at her home, and I often heard her telling her mom over the phone that if he talks back, just hit him. After all, his legs are crippled anyway. I knew she was talking about Deng Jianren. In our previous life, he used to hit my mother-in-law and me. In this life, I hope my mother-in-law won't be soft-hearted. Shanshan told me that her mom isn't foolish. The reason she didn't fight back before was because she couldn't win and had to protect her child. Now, her mom is quite fierce. One day, an acquaintance came to our new shop. It was Li Shuhuan and his new wife. His new wife's belly is slightly swollen. She must be pregnant. Li Shuhuan seemed to have recognized my cooking skills and wanted to meet the owner and the chef. Neither Shanshan nor I showed up, only the chef met with him. After that, Li Shuhuan came back many more times. Fortunately, Shanshan and I now have several branch stores, so we can just visit this one less often. After more than half a year, Shanshan went back for a visit. Her grandmother had passed away. Fortunately, in this lifetime, she wasn't bedridden with paralysis. She walked out on her own and died from a fall when no one was watching. In her previous life, she also fell around this time. But she didn't die. Instead, she was paralyzed and bedridden. And my mother-in-law and I took turns caring for her for 1.5 years before she passed away. In this lifetime, it's just as well that she went this way. Shanshan came back and told me that Xiangxiang gave birth to a daughter. She is just like in her previous life, except her daughter arrived several years earlier than before. In the previous life, Deng Gang was forced by Deng Jianren to consummate the marriage with me. That one night, I became pregnant and gave birth to a son. Later, because I was busy with pregnancy and because I was often beaten, the child was born with some problems. It only lived a few years before it died. Until now, I can't even remember what the child gave me, except for making me serve one more master in the Deng family. At the end of the year, Shanshan went back again to celebrate the new year. When she returned, she was very happy and told me that her father, that scourge, had finally died. It turned out that although his father had lost a leg, he refused to change his ways. Unable to go out hunting, he set his sights on the neighbor's dog. No one knew where he got the detonator, but under the cover of night, he went to the neighbor's house to blow up the dog. However, before he could get close, the dog alerted all the other dogs in the village, and they came to bite him. He tried to ignite the detonator, but the dogs pounced on him, causing it to explode and sending him flying. The villagers all said he got what he deserved and brought it upon himself. Deng Gang also knew he was in the wrong and didn't dare to ask the villagers for compensation. He could only accept his bad luck and take Deng Jianren home, where he died on New Year's Eve, at midnight. While everyone else was setting off New Year firecrackers, his family was setting off funeral firecrackers. The villagers found it inauspicious. And coupled with Deng Jianren's poor reputation in the village when he was alive, no one was willing to go to his house to help. By the 5th day of the Lunar New Year, the village head couldn't stand it anymore. At the request of Shanshan and her mother, he forcibly called a few strong men to go to their house to help, and they dug a pit and buried Deng Jianren. Shanshan was very happy. She said that in both her lifetimes, the person she hated the most was her father, followed by her husband. Now her father was finally dead, and she was finally divorced from her husband. Not long after, a chef came to the shop for an interview. It was none other than Brother Cai. I was surprised. Why would he be out looking for a job? He said that the Li family's factory and hotel had both gone bankrupt. Li Shuhuan's father had embezzled the funds and fled back to Taiwan, while Li Shuhuan himself was being held captive in his villa. Now, even after selling the land where the factory and hotel were located, it still wasn't enough to cover the debts. Li Shuhuan had to ask his wife to return everything she had received from him just to barely settle the debt. Brother Cai has worked for Boss Li for many years, and even 2 months' worth of wages have been withheld. Many people are unhappy about it and are currently taking things from Boss Li's villa. I really admire Brother Cai's character. So I made him the head chef at my restaurant. I finally understand why Shanshan wanted to divorce Li Shuhuan, and why she went to such lengths to put the money with me. Who would have thought that after all the years Li Shuhuan and she were married, the biggest beneficiary would be me? Actually, Shanshan and Li Shuhuan are already divorced, so even if they go bankrupt now, it has nothing to do with her. She's just doing this to be more cautious. One evening, we went out for a walk and ran into Li Shuhuan and his family of 3. His wife was wearing a pair of sunglasses, and you could vaguely see the bruises around her eyes. Their son was very cute, dressed like a New Year picture doll. As we passed by, Li Shuhuan saw us first. He didn't seem to recognize me, but grabbed Shanshan and said, "Deng Shanshan, you bitch, you cheated me out of so much money back then. Pay me back." Shanshan smiled and said, "Oh, it's my ex-husband. We've been divorced for less than 2 years, and your child is already 3 or 4 years old. I was generous enough not to leave you with nothing, and now you want me to pay you back." Li Shuhuan's wife immediately scolded loudly, "You homewrecker, pay us back. The money you took was all marital property, and I have the right to reclaim it." Deng Shanshan laughed, and I laughed too, because she did indeed register her marriage with Li Shuheng back then, so legally speaking, Li Shuheng committed adultery during the marriage and also transferred assets. Even though the factory has now closed down, judging by their attire, they probably aren't short of money. Deng Shanshan took out her phone and said calmly, "Coincidentally, I know a lawyer. Why don't I ask him whether I still have the right to reclaim marital assets?" Li Shuheng immediately got scared and, pulling his wife and child along, slunk away in disgrace. My life with Shanshan has returned to calm. After some time, Deng Gang suddenly contacted Shanshan, saying he wanted to come to Guangzhou to find a job. that he had no money left and couldn't survive back home. Deng Gang is the person I hated most in my past life. I thought about letting him go for Shanshan's sake, and I actually did so. Shanshan sent him back to the countryside earlier to save his life. But if he insists on coming to me, it would be a lie to say I don't want to kill him. Deng Gang came with Xiang, and they were looking for a job as a couple working as security guards. The work was easy, and they could be together while also having another child. It turned out that their child had recently drowned in a water accident. I don't know how Shanshan managed it, but as soon as they arrived, she helped them find a security job at a chemical plant. Before Deng Gang started work, we had a meal together. After 3 years of rural life, Xiang had lost her former youthful radiance. And Deng Gang's eyes kept darting around me. Shanshan told him that I was the owner of the restaurant, and also her boss. Deng Gang lowered his head in shame, not daring to look at me again. Deng Gang and his wife had worked at the chemical plant for less than half a year when an explosion occurred. They received 2 million in compensation, and all the money went to Shanshan. Shanshan brought her mother from the countryside, and I recognized her as my godmother. From then on, the three of us lived together. One day, Shanshan told me she was going to die and begged me to take good care of our godmother for the rest of her life. I agreed. Then, Shanshan gave me all her money, disappeared, and never contacted me again. Later, I saw the news and found out that Shanshan had actually jumped off a building with Li Shuhuan. While sorting through Shanshan's belongings, I cried. Finally, I came across a cancer test report and a letter from Shanshan addressed to me. Dear Huahui, by the time you read this letter, I should no longer be here. When I lifted your red veil and saw that your eyes weren't swollen and red, and you were hiding a knife in your hand, I knew you had been reborn. My brother is a scoundrel. I know everything he did to you in our past life. When he pushed you off the cliff, I was watching from afar, but I did nothing, because, in that life, I hated you. I hated that my brother spent so much money to marry you. Do you know where that money came from? Half of it came from selling my eldest sister, and the other half came from my father selling my virginity. After you died, I felt deeply guilty because I had misdirected my hatred. It was my father and my brother who were despicable. You were the innocent one. I knew that in the previous life, the security guard had his leg broken because of thieves breaking in. So I arranged for my dad to go and then sent him back to the countryside. That way, he couldn't beat my mom all day long. I know you hate my brother, and I originally wanted to spare his life. Unfortunately, he didn't treat my mom well at home and even came to Guangzhou with Xiang, determined to seek death, so I had to grant their wish. That chemical plant exploded around the same time in my previous life, and the compensation was 1 million per person. It's really tempting. Do you know what Li Shuhuan did to me in my previous life? He was two-timing, constantly wavering between me and that woman. Later, I gave birth to a daughter, and that woman gave birth to a son. They got married, and I became the other woman. Later, when I was diagnosed with cancer, Li Shuhuan not only refused to treat me but also demanded that I repay all the money I had spent before. So, in this life, I found him early, got the certificate early, and put all the money with you. Am I clever? In my previous life, you were the one who took care of my mother, so in this life, I've given all the money to you, hoping that after I'm gone, you'll continue to look after her. The money you have now should be enough for you to live comfortably for the rest of your lives. Remember to take my mother out more often and see the world on my behalf. By the way, scatter my ashes into the sea. In my next life, I want to be a free and unrestrained fish. My eyes have long been blurred. In my past life, I never blamed her, even though she was very cold. As long as she didn't hit me, I was already grateful. As for my godmother, even if Shanshan didn't say anything, I would still take good care of her, because, on the day of the betrothal gift, it was she who privately told me to bring my household register and ID card and not to tell anyone, the night she left Dongjia village. She was the one who unlocked the bicycle early and managed to deceive all the guests. I don't know if she was reborn, but I do know that in this lifetime, it was her and Shanshan who gave me a new life. Here is the second part. My daughter and my husband's sweetheart son were hospitalized at the same time. My husband gave the only life-saving medicine to his sweetheart's son. My daughter died, and I completely lost hope in my husband. I left a divorce agreement and went to teach in a small mountain village. That day, The rain poured down and the mountains shook. I saw my cold-hearted husband moving heavy stones, his hands bloody and the wounds deep. When I woke up again, I was back on the day my daughter's life hung in the balance. Jace Gu, this time. I will never look back. In the aftermath of the earthquake, heavy rain followed, and the whole world seemed to be shrouded in a despairing rain. I floated in the air, watching a team of soldiers rush to the scene. Now that I'm dead, he should be happy, right? I was pinned under the heavy beams, my consciousness fading. This was my last thought before I died. The earthquake struck suddenly, and I only had time to get the older children to run outside. There were still 2 7- or 8-year-old children in the classroom, so frightened that they stood there, crying loudly. I turned and ran back to the classroom. And just as the roof beam was about to fall on them, I dove and shielded them with my body. Bang! The beam slammed into my back, and a metallic sweetness surged in my throat. Even breathing was painful. I am not afraid of death. Since my daughter died, I have been living like a walking corpse. I couldn't save my daughter half a year ago, but today I must save these 2 children. I am so happy that I can finally see my daughter. Anan, Mommy is coming to see you. Consciousness gradually faded away, and the pain in my body disappeared. When I came back to my senses, I was floating in mid-air. A team of soldiers advanced through the rain, the leader's silhouette looking somewhat familiar. As the group approached, I saw the leader clearly and was secretly startled. It's Jace Gu. Tall and slender, with broad shoulders and a narrow waist, his resolute eyebrows and upright demeanor were reassuring. Unfortunately, Jace Gu's shoulder never belonged to me. After the shock came a sense of relief that was expected. Qingyuan County is under the jurisdiction of Jace Gu's military region, so it's normal for him to be here for earthquake relief. I won't be so presumptuous as to think he came for me. The village chief, wearing a raincoat, waited in the heavy rain and immediately greeted Jace Gu when he arrived with his men. Commander Gu, when the earthquake happened, Teacher Shen was in class. The children who ran out said she couldn't escape because she was saving the students in the classroom. Commander, I raised my eyebrows. I didn't expect Jace Gu to be promoted from battalion commander to commander in just 1 year since I left. The village chief spoke, pointing at the ruins, his dark face filled with guilt and anxiety. Teacher Shen is a good person, never looked down on us farmers, taught diligently, and was kind. Everyone in the village liked her. The man's hawk-like eyes swept across the collapsed houses. With a slight frown, I even saw a hint of urgency on his face. It's been 6 years of marriage, and Jace Gu has always given me a cold face. I must be seeing things, bricks, tiles, wooden beams, without proper tools. I can only move and dig with my bare hands. Jace Gu spares no effort. His hands gradually chafed by the rough bricks, strands of fresh blood oozed out, then were washed away by the heavy rain. Captain, go bandage your wounds. We can handle the rest. A soldier, seeing Jace Gu working so recklessly, couldn't help but come over and advise him. Jace Gu didn't stop his movements, and refused without looking up. I'm fine. Tell the brothers to be careful. The soldier understood Jace Gu's character. Unable to persuade him and worried about him, he had no choice but to help him by his side. About half an hour later, the ruins were finally cleared. The 2 children I had protected underneath me only suffered minor injuries and were taken home by their parents to recover. I floated in mid-air and saw my own corpse. This could be considered a novel experience. Jace Gu was stunned for a moment, then ran towards me. My body was somewhat deformed under the heavy pressure of the beam. Truly not a pretty sight. He knelt beside me, helplessly pulling me into his arms. Zoe, I'm sorry, I'm late, the man murmured distractedly. Over the past year, I've thought about you and Anan every day, missing the days when the 3 of us were together as a family. I'm sorry, I was too stupid to realize my feelings for you until after you left. If I had known that letting you go would separate us forever, I would never have agreed to let you leave, Jace Gu said, his eyes gradually turning red, as if tears were welling up, mixed with the rain. It was hard to tell whether it was tears or rain. I was shocked. Jace Gu actually cried for me. Before I could finish being shocked, I heard Jace Gu's voice again, full of pleading and helplessness. Zoe, Zoe, I love you. Please come back. I've already lost our daughter. I can't lose you too. The man's voice was sorrowful, like a wild goose that had lost its mate. It sounds ridiculous. I fell in love with Jace Gu at first sight, and later married him and became his virtuous wife for 6 years. I carefully tried to please him, begging for his love, but he was too stingy. Always wearing a cold face, distant and polite to me even at home, but kind and attentive to Joy Chin and her son, even abandoning our child for her child. Perhaps his current regret and love are real, but his past indifference, neglect, and favoritism are etched in my memory. Jace Gu is still telling me about his true feelings and remorse. I closed my eyes in pain. Jace Gu, it's too late. You didn't cherish my love for you in the past, and now I don't want your love either. Our marriage was a complete mistake. If we could do it again, I wouldn't marry you, I said to myself. Jace Gu seemed to notice something and looked up at me. I'm a soul right now, he shouldn't be able to see me, but his gaze still made my soul tremble. Then I fell completely into darkness. Doctor, how is Yang Yang? Please, you must save my son. The woman's voice, slightly tearful, was soft and delicate, making one suspect that the owner of the voice must be as frail as a willow in March. It sounds somewhat familiar. Who is it? I leaned against the cold wall, shaking my head vigorously until the blurry figures in front of me finally came into focus. It was Joy Chin. She leaned weakly into my husband's arms, crying her heart out. My husband, Jace Gu, held her loosely, his face filled with concern as he watched her intently. The smell of disinfectant in the air brought me swiftly back to my senses. Hospital. Joy Chin, Jace Gu, a bold idea popped into my head. I've been reborn, back to this day a year ago when my daughter was seriously ill. This time, I must save my daughter. As I pondered, the doctor's voice sounded again, saying the exact same words as in my previous life. Comrade Chin, rest assured, we will do everything we can to save the patient. The doctor paused, his eyes sweeping over the three of us, carefully choosing his words. Ju Yang and Ji Yuanan are both suffering from the same illness. But the hospital only has one dose of the medicine for this disease. To transfer it from the city hospital, we need to file a report, and it will take at least 3 hours to arrive. I'm worried the children won't be able to wait that long. The doctor's unspoken message was, the medicine is only enough to save one person. Both are 4-year-old children, and their conditions are similar, who should be saved. Upon hearing this, Joy Chin was stunned as if struck by lightning, and large tears fell. It truly breaks my heart to see her like this. Brother Gu, it's all my fault. I'm just useless. If it wasn't for my poor health and premature birth when I was pregnant with Yang Yang, he wouldn't have been weak since childhood, and now he wouldn't have contracted such a disease. Ji Yu Ting clenched his fists, veins popping out. I know what he's struggling with. Seeing Jace Gu remain silent, Joy Chin dabbed the corners of her eyes with a handkerchief, adding more fuel to the fire. Poor Yang Yang lost his father as soon as he was born. If my Ju Changqing were still here, he would have done everything he could to save Yang Yang. Heh, the same old tired rhetoric. The name Ju Changqing is practically Joy Chin's ultimate weapon, one that always works on Jace Gu. Jace Gu and Ju Changqing were the closest of friends, having gone through life and death together 4 years ago. They were on a mission together when Ju Changqing took a bullet for Jace Gu and heroically sacrificed himself. Upon hearing the devastating news, Joy Chin went into premature labor due to the shock, plus Jace Gu's unspoken feelings for Joy Chin, admiration, affection, guilt, various emotions intertwined. Jace Gu took great care of Joy Chin and her son. If the child was sick, if the pipes at home were broken, or if the child got into a fight with other children at the daycare, Jace Gu took care of everything, big and small. Everyone in the compound said he was loyal, kind, and responsible. Only I knew how the so-called loyal and kind Jace Gu could be so indifferent to his wife and daughter. Sure enough, I saw Jace Gu's clenched fist slowly relax as he took a deep breath. As if he had made a decision, he looked at me. Zoe, save Yang Yang first. He hasn't been healthy since he was a child, Anan is more lively and healthier than him. She will definitely be able to hold on until the medicine arrives. Anan does look healthier than Ju Yang now, but she used to get sick often before she was 3 years old. Jace Gu ran to Joy Chin's house every day, so I could only take care of Anan alone. Did you think Anan was born with a healthy body? The daughter I raised with so much effort is not a bargaining chip for you to repay a life-saving debt. The more I thought about it, the angrier I got, and I couldn't help but sneer. Based on what? Who to save first is up to the doctor. The doctor finally understood the chaotic situation between the three of them, breaking out in a cold sweat. He was just a small doctor, and the only other man present was a battalion commander from the military, someone he couldn't afford to offend. The middle-aged doctor stammered, and Joy Chin couldn't help but speak up from the side. She started crying again, pleading with me with a face full of sorrow. "Zoe, please. Give the medicine to Yang Yang. He was born prematurely and his health is poor. He can't afford to wait. My family favored boys over girls. I finally got into the cultural troupe and married Ju Changqing, but I didn't expect him to leave so early. Yang Yang is all I have. Zoe, you're not like me. You come from a good background and married a successful man like brother Ji Yu. Everyone envies your family of three." She was immersed in her emotions, and even came over to try to hold my hand when she spoke of her sorrows. "Zoe, please, just give in to me this once. Give Yang Yang a chance to live. Anan is healthy. She can wait." "Joy Chin, what gives you the right to sacrifice my daughter for your son?" Slap. I gathered strength in my right hand and slapped her hard across the face. That felt good. I raised my left hand, wanting to slap her again, but a large hand firmly clamped down on it. Without a second thought, it was Jace Ji Yu. He released my hand and turned to comfort Joy Chin. "You can talk, but why hit people for no reason?" I hit her because she deserved it, always playing the weak, innocent flower so that Jace Ji Yu would favor them, mother and son, without any limits. "Brother Ji Yu, I'm okay." Joy Chin ignored Jace Gu's comforting words. Her beautiful eyes filled with tears as she looked at me. "Zoe, as long as you agree to give the medicine to Yang Yang, you can hit me as much as you want." As she spoke, she took my hand and started hitting her own face with it. "Enough." Jace Ji Yu, burning with anger, stopped Joy Chin's actions and gave me a final ultimatum. "Zoe, Changqing saved my life. I can't watch Yang Yang die." He turned to look at the doctor. "Doctor, give the medicine to Ju Yang. I will bear all the consequences." "What will you bear it with?" "In my past life, Ju Yang recovered and was discharged from the hospital while my Anan died, yet didn't you live a good life, knowing the outcome?" I still torture myself by listening to him say these things again. I turned my head to wipe away the surging tears. "Jace Ji Yu, I thought that since Ju Changqing saved your life, it was only natural for you to take care of him a bit more out of brotherly affection. So I tolerated your past care for Joy Chin and her son, and I never said a word about it, but I didn't expect you to abandon your own daughter so readily. Anan is unfortunate to have a father like you." Jace Ji Yu tried to defend himself. "Zoe, I didn't want to abandon Anan. The doctor said the medicine could be prepared in as little as 3 hours, and then Anan could be saved. I owe Changqing a life after all. Are you going to repay Ju Changqing's life debt with your daughter's life to save his son?" I stared straight at Jace Ji Yu, tears in my eyes, filled with anger and disappointment. "Enough. Jace Ji Yu, you owe the Ju family a life. If you're willing to be their servants for his wife and children, I have no objection. But since you've chosen to abandon Anan, then from now on, you're not worthy of being her father. I will save my daughter myself." With that, I pushed Jace Ji Yu and Joy Chin aside and strode towards Anan's ward. The tiny figure lay in the snow-white quilt, an abnormal flush on her face due to the illness. "My Anan is still alive. Last time, I listened to the doctor and Jace Ji Yu and stayed in the hospital, waiting bitterly for the medicine, but the medicine was delayed and I lost my daughter forever. This time, I must save her." I walked to the bed and picked up Anan. "Mommy, I feel so bad." Anan was startled by my movement and opened her eyes groggily. The childish voice seemed like it was from another lifetime, and the mist blurred my vision. I blinked to let the tears fall, then raised a smiling face and softly comforted her. "Don't be afraid, Anan. Mommy is here. Mommy will take Anan to a big hospital to see a doctor, and Anan won't feel uncomfortable when she gets better." As I spoke, I gently patted Anan's small body, holding her as I walked outside. I ran into Jace Ji Yu just as I reached the door. "Where are you taking Anan?" I looked at him with sarcasm in my eyes, not wanting to waste any more time with him. "Taking Anan to the city hospital for treatment. Or should we just stay here and wait to die?" After saying that, I wanted to get around Jace Ji Yu and leave, but he stopped me. I impatiently scolded him. "Get out of the way." Jace Ji Yu choked. "But a dog's mouth can't produce ivory. It's not safe for you to take the child to the city for treatment alone. Unfamiliar with the place." "How about," I retorted, looking at him playfully. So, Jace Gu, are you going to the city hospital with us? How could Jace Gu bear to leave Joychin alone? She lost her husband and still has to take care of her sick child. How pitiful, probably not expecting me to be so blunt. Jace Gu was momentarily speechless, and the hand that was stopping me slowly lowered. Zoe, I remember one of your grandma's students works at the city hospital. Why don't you give him a call and ask him to look after things? Joy and Yang really need someone here. The logistics team from the troop is going to the city anyway. I'll go say hello and have them take you and your daughter to the city hospital. The troop's logistics team has tasks when they go to the city, and there are layers of approvals, so the procedures are very troublesome. I can't wait, and neither can Enon. No need, I'll find a car myself. Just now. Jace Gu asked the doctor to save Juyang first, and I criticized him for not being worthy of being Enon's father. At this moment, he has a bit of a fatherly heart, after all. He's not in the right, so he doesn't speak with much confidence. Okay, you guys go ahead, I'll definitely come see you after Yang gets better. I neither affirm nor deny it. Who can't say pretty words? Saying it is one thing, doing it is another. I've heard these words too many times. But he always breaks his promise. If I could do it all over again, I would no longer long for his love or believe his promises. No expectations, no disappointments. I didn't look at him, I brushed past him and left. I pulled some strings and spent a lot of money to find a ride to the city hospital. We sped along the road, the hot August wind rushing in through the car window, whipping my bangs into a mess. In the silent atmosphere, time seemed to stretch on forever. An hour later, I arrived at the city hospital with Anon. A middle-aged man stood at the entrance, wearing black-rimmed glasses, looking very refined and amiable. I quickened my pace. Uncle Zhao, the middle-aged man, saw me and greeted me warmly. Xiaoyun, you're here. You called me an hour ago, and I have a general understanding of Anen's condition. The city hospital can treat it, so don't worry. I followed Uncle Zhao and walked into the hospital with him. Uncle Zhao, I'm troubling you. Thank you so much. Uncle Zhao feigned anger, his smiling face falling, looking somewhat annoyed. Your grandmother was my benefactor, and your father and I are the closest of friends. I watched you grow up, treating you like my own niece. It's just a word to Anen's doctor. No need for thanks, it's too formal. Uncle Zhao is my grandmother's disciple. Grandma is a descendant of a family of traditional Chinese medicine practitioners. In her youth, she studied in the West and returned to China after completing her studies. At a time when the country's survival was at stake, she devoted herself to the revolutionary cause and became a military doctor. Grandma met my grandpa in the army, and they became revolutionary comrades. The two elders only had my father as their child. Grandma wanted to pass on her medical skills to my dad, but he wasn't interested and instead longed for the military. Gradually, Grandma gave up on the idea and unexpectedly discovered that Uncle Zhao had a talent for medicine. So she took him as her disciple. I turned my head to look at Uncle Zhao and gave him a smile. Soon we arrived at the clinic. Luckily, you got here in time. This disease is more common in children and has a high mortality rate. But as long as medication is administered promptly, the situation can be turned around. I'll have the nurse take you to the ward. The medication will be delivered shortly. I burst into tears of joy. Okay, thank you so much, doctor. A week later, Anon recovered completely. Today is the day of discharge. I packed our belongings while talking to Anon. Anon sat obediently on the chair beside the bed, munching on an apple. Mommy, are we going home today? I smiled and turned to look at her. Yes. Is Anon happy? The little girl lowered her head in thought, forgetting to eat her apple. I don't want to go home. Yang will snatch my snacks and toys. Dad always says I'm the older sister and should give in to my younger brother. And he always hugs him, but never hugs me. Speaking of her father, Anon's mood clearly dropped. Mom, Dad is nicer to Yang. Doesn't he like me? My marriage with Jace Gu was arranged. My grandfather and Grandpa Gu were best friends who had gone through thick and thin together. Because he had saved Grandpa Gu's life, Grandpa Gu proposed a marriage between their children, strengthening the bond between the two families. Unfortunately, both my grandfather and Grandpa Gu only had sons, so the marriage agreement was extended to the grandchildren's generation. After the founding of Xinhua, Grandpa and Grandpa Gu took up positions in different places, and the two families had less and less contact. only sending some holiday gifts during festivals. My mother passed away from a massive hemorrhage when she gave birth to me, and my father sacrificed himself on a mission when I was 13. My grandparents participated in the war of resistance against Japan when they were young, and their health suffered many hidden ailments. They passed away one after another 6 years ago, of the family of 5. Only my grandparents and I were left to depend on each other. 6 years ago, my grandfather was seriously ill and worried that I would be alone without support, so he contacted Grandpa Gu to fulfill this marriage contract. I was hesitant. If getting married could put my grandfather at ease, I was willing to fulfill his wish. I was pleasantly surprised when I met Jace Gu before getting our marriage certificate. 6 months ago, I was passing through a secluded alley when I was almost harassed by hooligans. Jace Gu descended like a god, taught the bad guys a lesson, and sent them to the police station. It was late that day, and he was worried about my safety, so he sent me home. Most women admire heroes, and I am no exception, but that day was too rushed, and I didn't have time to ask his name or where he lived. Reuniting now fills my heart with joy. I never imagined my marriage partner would be the person who saved my life. Needless to say, his physical attributes are outstanding. A dignified appearance, tall and long-legged, coupled with the gratitude from him saving my life, all of this made me yearn for marriage with him. Urged by our grandfathers, Jace Gu and I got married. Holding the marriage certificate like a trophy, I was secretly thrilled, not noticing the dark look in Jace Gu's eyes. I dove headfirst into this marriage, and now the passion has slowly died out, leaving me battered and bruised. Even though Jace Gu's favoritism is a fact, my daughter is still young. How could I bear to tell her that her father is biased towards other people's children? It's too cruel for her. I walked to my daughter's side, squatted down to look her in the eye. Young doesn't have a father, so Daddy is a little nicer to him. But Daddy loves Anan very much too. When you were little, Daddy used to hold you all the time. I didn't even believe it myself when I said that. I secretly cursed myself, put on a smile, and touched my daughter's round head. Anan, if Mommy and Daddy live separately, who would you want to live with, Mommy or Daddy? The little girl smiled and threw herself into my arms, answering loudly, I only like Mommy. I want to be with Mommy. Actually, children understand everything. They know who truly loves them. I tidied Anan's 2 little braids and stood up, holding her with one arm. Mommy and Anan will always be together. How about we go home now? Okay. It was already 4 in the afternoon when we got home. There was a thin layer of dust on the tables, chairs, and benches. Jace Gu must have been going back and forth to the hospital every day. Not having time to clean, I quickly cleaned the living room and Anan's room, then took her downstairs to buy groceries. Many military spouses were outside playing with their children downstairs. As I passed a large tree, Political Commissar Wu's wife stopped me, and several other women gathered around to join in the fun. Xiaoyun, I heard you took Anan to the city hospital for a checkup. Is she better now? I squeezed Anan's hand and replied with a smile, Thank you for your concern, Sister Wu. Anan is all better now. Look at her, full of energy. Sister Wu nodded. That's good. Overcoming this hurdle will ward off all illnesses. Anan will definitely be healthy and strong in the future. As soon as she finished speaking, a busybody sister-in-law who loved watching the fun chimed in with sarcastic remarks. Jace's wife, when you took the child to the city for treatment, didn't Jace say he would go with you? Joy Chin's child has also been hospitalized these past few days, and Commander Jiyu has been running around taking care of things like he's the father. Anyone who didn't know better would think they were the family. This sister-in-law was a well-known gossip in the compound, who loved to talk about everyone's business. I knew she wouldn't say anything nice, so I sent Anan to play with the other kids when she started talking. Some things are better left unheard by children. I looked bitter, indicating that I understood Jace Gu, but anyone could tell I was being insincere. Battalion Commander Ju saved Jace's life, and Joy Chin is a helpless widow. It's only right and proper for Jace to take care of his brother's wife and children. I come from a military family, and my parents and elders taught me to be strong and generous. It's good that Jace is here to help Joy Chin while I take my daughter to the hospital alone. This bit of green tea talk wasn't particularly clever, but it subtly affirmed the fact that Jace Gu favored Joy Chin and her son. The sisters-in-law present were all astute. How could they not understand my hidden meaning? His own daughter is so sick that she has to go to the municipal hospital. Yet Jace Gu is still watching over Joy Chin and her son, completely ignoring his own flesh and blood. With so many people in the compound, is Joy Chin so unpopular that she can't find anyone to help her? It's okay to help out in normal times, but at critical moments, you still have to prioritize relationships. The wives put themselves in her shoes and thought, if their own men favored other people's children, they would have made a scene long ago, unlike Zoe Shin, who would say good things about her man in public. How silly. Over the past few years, everyone has seen how Jace Gu has treated Joy Chin and her son. I didn't say anything before, and everyone just treated it as a novelty to watch. But now I'm no longer willing to endure it. Some people don't know what's good for them and always push their luck, and they always have to pay the price. Sister-in-law Wu looked at me with concern and patted my hand. I know you are generous and reasonable, but no matter how much Battalion Commander Gu takes care of Joy Chin and her son, he can't ignore his own family. We women need to show weakness appropriately. It's best to talk things out between husband and wife and not let grudges fester. Despite all the earnest advice, it went in one ear and out the other. Not wanting to argue with Sister Wu, I gave a few perfunctory replies and took an to buy groceries. The sound of the sisters-in-law gossiping came from behind. I knew Battalion Commander Gu was up to no good a long time ago. He runs to Joy Chin's house whenever he has time, and he looks like family standing with Joy Chin and her son. Yeah. Captain Gu cares more about his good brother's son than his own daughter, and I say Joy Chin isn't a good person either. A widow's doorstep invites gossip. There are so many people in the compound, and if all else fails, she could ask the organization for help. But no, she has to call for Captain Gu every day, showing off how well she can manipulate men. Slander is a powerful weapon. Malicious words can destroy a person. The sound of discussion faded away, and I took Anan to the supply and marketing cooperative. After washing up, I coaxed Anan to sleep, closed the bedroom door, and came out to sit alone in the living room. The warm yellow light illuminated a small area, and the moonlight jumped in from the balcony, appearing desolate. I surveyed the decorations in the living room. The curtains, sofa, coffee table, and tablecloth were all carefully chosen by me, and I made countless trips to the county department store for them. Jace Gu was busy with training, missions, and dealing with matters in the military camp. It wasn't until Ju Chongqing's sacrifice that Jace Gu frequently visited the Ju family under the guise of taking care of Joy Chin and her son. At first, I thought Jace Gu was just looking after his good brother's widow, but then I saw the way he looked at Joy Chin. I adored Jace Gu. That kind of look is all too familiar to me. That night I cried bitterly under the covers. Reason tells me I should cut my losses in time, but I can't bear to. Sincerity can penetrate metal and stone. I believe that as long as I am a good Mrs. Gu and ensure Jace Gu has no worries, he will see me. But I was terribly wrong. The first crush that couldn't be obtained will turn into a cinnabar mole. It will forever remain in his heart, becoming a shadow that I can't shake off. In my past and present lives, I've seen Jace Gu for who he truly is. I no longer want to waste my energy trying to please someone who doesn't love me. Cutting losses in time is also a form of self-respect and self-love. This time, I will leave him and never look back. The clock slowly ticked to 9. The night was as dark as ink. The sound of a door opening came from the entrance. It was Jace Gu who had returned. He looked surprised to see me sitting in the living room. Zoe, you're back. Why didn't you say so earlier? I could have picked you and your daughter up. Those who are willing don't need to be taught, and those who are not willing won't learn. If Jace Gu really cared about Anan's condition, why didn't he call the city hospital to ask? Why didn't he come to see his daughter? I sneered and began to mock him. Commander Gu is probably too busy to pick us up. He's probably at the hospital taking care of someone else's child. My sarcasm was obvious, and Jace Gu, sensing my displeasure, irritably undid the top 2 buttons of his shirt. I didn't think this through, but Yang is seriously ill, and Joy Chin doesn't have anyone to help her. Joy Chin is pitiful, taking care of the child alone. I have a husband, but it's as if I don't, because my husband is fulfilling his responsibilities as a husband and father in someone else's home. In comparison, I'm even more pitiful, since Jace Gu enjoys taking care of Joy Chin and her child. Why not let them become a real family? I interrupted him impatiently. Jace Gu, let's get divorced. Since being reborn, I had imagined countless scenarios of proposing a divorce to Jace Gu, thinking I would feel heartache and sadness, but after actually saying it, I found myself so calm, like a still, bottomless pool. I watched with great interest as Jace Gu displayed a surprised, shocked, and incredulous expression. Zoe, why do you want a divorce? Is it because of Anand's incident this time? For 6 years of marriage, I managed the household meticulously, and Jace Gu never had to worry about housework or social interactions. He is rigid and upright, and doesn't like to change his lifestyle, but his hesitation is only because of his lifestyle, not because of me as a person. I sighed. It's not just about Anand. These past few days taking care of Anand in the hospital, I've carefully considered our marriage, how excited and expectant I was when I married you. That's how heartbroken I was when I found out you liked Joy Chin. Jace Gu didn't expect that I had already seen through his feelings for Joy Chin, and thought he was doing a good job of hiding behind the guise of taking care of his brother's widow. At this moment, he was a little flustered and exasperated at having his secret exposed. Zoe Shin, don't go chasing shadows and imagining things. Joy Chin and I are innocent. I'm only taking care of them because Changqing saved my life. Look, he's even talking more to defend the woman he loves. I chuckled, nonchalantly twirling a strand of hair. Oh, perhaps you and Joy Chin are indeed innocent. But your actions all tell me you favor them, mother and son. Jace Gu, you can deceive outsiders, but you can't deceive yourself or me. I genuinely liked you before, so I naturally know what it looks like to like someone. Without waiting for his rebuttal, I looked at the ink-like night, recalling the past amidst the cicadas chirping. Do you remember when I was in confinement after giving birth to Anand? Jace Gu looked blank, clearly not remembering. Not long after I gave birth to Anand, you came back from a mission and said that Ju Changqing had sacrificed himself to save you from a bullet. Joy Chin went into premature labor upon hearing the tragic news, and you spent days and nights taking care of Joy Chin and her child, making formula, changing diapers, asking people to make soup for Joy Chin, doing everything a husband and father should do. Joy Chin enjoyed your care, but I had to take care of Anand alone. The water in winter was so cold. But my husband was changing diapers for someone else's child, completely ignoring his own wife and daughter. Tears streamed down my face without me realizing, and I wiped them away absent-mindedly. The unbearable days of the past can now be spoken of lightly. I pitied Joy Chin for losing her husband and having no support, thinking it would be better when her child got older, but I didn't know how significant a responsibility it is to raise a child. You have to worry about the child's food and clothing, and it's even more heartbreaking when they get sick. When the child grows up, they have to go to school, and when they become adults, you have to worry about their work. After they start working, you have to consider their marriage, and after they get married, you have to take care of their grandchildren. I paused and looked at Jace Gu seriously. Jace Gu, given your affection for Ju Changqing and Joy Chin, it's impossible for you to abandon Joy Chin and Ju Yang, and I don't want to share my husband with anyone else, nor do I want Anand and the other children to share a father's love. Although both the palm and the back of the hand are flesh, there is still a difference in thickness. You chose to give up on Anand when both children were sick at the same time, and that's the best proof. Disappointment accumulates from one small thing after another. Once you've saved up enough, you give up completely. Jace Gu never cared about my feelings before. As long as the family was peaceful, he could devote himself to Joy Chin and her son without any worries. But now that I've voiced my dissatisfaction, he can no longer pretend to be ignorant. He eagerly defended himself, reaching out to grab my hand, but I dodged it. Zoe, I admit I wronged you and Anand in the past. Give me another chance to make it up to you and your daughter. If Jace Gu's words are believable, pigs can fly. Jace Gu, I don't need your compensation. You should save your fatherly love for your good brother's son. I'm determined to get this divorce. Seeing my resolute attitude, Jace Gu's eyes showed pleading. Zoe, you have to think about Anand. She's so young. She needs a father. Can't we just live together as a family? I was truly amused by his self-righteousness. I told you back in the hospital when you abandoned Anand, you're not worthy of being Anand's father. How dare you even bring up Anand? Have you ever changed her diapers? How many times have you coaxed her to sleep? When we were at the municipal hospital, Anand asked me if you didn't like her because you always held Ju Yang and not her. I was heartbroken and ashamed when I heard that. I was blind to have chosen such a bad father for her. Do you think that if you play deaf and dumb to something even a child can see clearly, all the favoritism and neglect will simply disappear? After a barrage of questions, Jace Gu grabbed his hair in frustration. He looked up, the bloodshot in his eyes particularly noticeable. I love an actions speak louder than words. His lip service of fatherly love is laughable. I suppressed a laugh. Perhaps, but an can't compare to the weight Joy Chin and her son hold in your heart. I will never let an be one of your options again. Jace Gu's voice was a little hoarse. Zoe, why are you being so aggressive? Can't we just go back to how things were before? Things are good for you, for Joy Chin and her son, but not for me and Anan. I rolled my eyes and picked up my cup to take a sip of warm water. I need a complete husband, and Anan needs complete paternal love. Clearly, you can't provide that. In that case, it's better if we part ways amicably. If you don't agree to a divorce, maybe I'll have to chat with your sisters-in-law about how enthusiastically you've been taking care of Joy Chin and her son, while neglecting your own wife and daughter. Having said that, I tucked a stray strand of hair behind my ear. You have the Gu family background, so this matter might not have much impact on you, but Joy Chin has no one to rely on, and her in-laws are far away in the countryside and can't help. I don't know what might happen to her. Joy Chin is indeed Jace Gu's Achilles heel. As soon as he heard I might threaten her, he immediately lost his composure. Joy is so pure and kind, and you actually want to hurt her with such gossip. Since you want a divorce, then so be it. I'll write the divorce application tonight. If it weren't for the marriage agreement between our families and my grandfather's stern pressure, do you think I would have wanted to marry you? Zoe Shen, don't think too highly of yourself. After 6 years of marriage, I finally understood the reason Jace Gu married me. Firstly, there was the marriage agreement between the Shun and Gu families, but more importantly, Joy Chin chose the seemingly more promising Ju Changqing at the time. Jace Gu's love, before he could even express it, died in the womb, becoming a forbidden secret he could never reveal. It just so happened that Grandpa Gu was urging him to get married. If he couldn't marry the one he loved, who he married didn't really matter, did it? Marrying me would also please the elders. I was full of anticipation, but Jace Gu was just going through the motions. We entered marriage like this, and now it ends in dismal failure. Jace Gu returned to the bedroom and slammed the door shut. I sat blankly in the living room, startled by a cold sensation on my face. It was my tears. Jace Gu acted swiftly, submitting the divorce application the very next day. These days, people believe in arguing at the head of the bed and making up at the foot, and unless it involves matters of life and death, they don't easily get divorced. Adding Jace Gu, that's also a battalion commander, with a widely acknowledged promising future in the army. Suddenly receiving Jace Gu's divorce application, the leaders were shocked. They even called me in to inquire about the reason. I can't stand Joy Chin, but I'll deal with her after I get divorced smoothly. Facing my leader, I only said that my relationship with Jace Gu had broken down and we could no longer live together. The leader earnestly advised me to think more about the children, but I was as determined as if I had swallowed a weight and insisted on getting a divorce. After all, it was a personal matter, and freedom of marriage cannot be forced. The leader told me to go back and wait for news, and the military would seriously consider it. Pick up Anan from Aunt Wang's downstairs on the way and walk her home. Unexpectedly, I ran into Joy Chin, who had been waiting for a long time, at my doorstep. Joy Chin is indeed beautiful, otherwise, she wouldn't have been able to join the cultural troupe and attract Ju Changqing and Jace Gu. After getting married, she switched to behind-the-scenes work, and even as a mother, she remains slim and charming. It's no surprise she knows about Jace Gu and I getting a divorce. The news has spread all over the compound. She's probably here to show off today. What a cheek. Wasn't the slap she received in the hospital last time memorable enough? I invited Joy Chin into the house and told Anan to go back to her room to play with her toys. When I turned around and came out, she was already sitting on the sofa as if she owned the place. Joy Chin was visiting my home for the first time. At this moment, she was looking around, sizing up the furnishings in the room, the greed in her eyes almost overflowing. Seeing me sit down on the sofa, she immediately began her innocent act. Zoe, I'm relieved to see Anan healthy and well. Thankfully, both children are fine. You're not still angry with me, are you? I stared at her with a fake smile. Of course not, I was too impulsive that day as well. Does your face still hurt? Joy Chin's face stiffened. I used all my strength in that slap, so it's normal for it to hurt for 2 or 3 days. Joy Chin cares most about her face, so wouldn't that be embarrassing? But if you're thin-skinned, you won't get anything, but if you're thick-skinned, you'll get your fill. She will never give up until she achieves her goal. Zoe, I heard you and Jace are getting divorced. Is it true? Probing for the truth, that was her real purpose. I put down my glass and looked at her with a smile. Of course it's true. Jace Gu's divorce application has already been submitted. Joy Chin received an affirmative answer, and the corners of her mouth lifted uncontrollably, but she tried hard to suppress it. Sigh, you two have been married for 6 years and have an as a daughter. How did you end up divorced? Seemingly worried about me, but actually gloating. I couldn't be bothered to be polite with her. Aren't you the happiest about my divorce from Jace Gu, with Jace Gu's feelings for you? You'd definitely be his first consideration for remarriage after the divorce. Then you, Ju Yang, and Jace Gu can be a real family. Joy Chin's face flushed red, as if I had hit a nerve. You've misunderstood. Changqing and brother Gu are good brothers. Brother Gu has taken care of me and Yang all these years out of respect for Changqing, truly wanting it both ways, acting like a whore while trying to maintain a virtuous facade. Then don't blame me for being cruel. I chuckled. Does Ju Changqing know that his good brother has taken over the roles of her husband and father? After you gave birth, Jace Gu brought you nourishing soup every day, made milk powder for the baby, and washed diapers. Whenever he had time, he would run to your house, when the water pipes broke or the circuits burned out. Jace Gu was the one who fixed them, looking at you, so weak and feeble, even when your period comes. Jace Gu has to bring you hot water bottles and brown sugar water. The moment there's a thunderstorm, you call Jace Gu saying the child is crying his eyes out, wanting his father. I'm just curious, didn't Ju Changqing die a hero? Where is Ju Yang going to find his father? Or are you teaching Ju Yang to call Jace Gu dad? Usually, your intentions are truly sinister. Breaking up a military marriage is a serious crime. Joy Chin looked like a frightened rabbit, her eyes red. Zoe, how could you think of me like that? Yang is so pitiful. He lost his father as soon as he was born. I usually use Changqing's photo to teach him to call him daddy. I don't care who Ju Yang is calling daddy. I just really don't want to watch Joy Chin's clumsy performance. It's just the two of us here. You don't have to pretend. Back then, you chose Ju Changqing because you thought he had a brighter future, didn't you? But you didn't expect him to die young. And your good days were cut short. After calculating everyone around you, you decided Jace Gu was the most suitable for you. Firstly, there's the brotherly bond between Ju Changqing and Jace Gu, and secondly, I paused deliberately, you knew Jace Gu had feelings for you even when you chose Ju Changqing. So after Ju Changqing's sacrifice, you used childbirth and the child to trap Jace Gu, making him participate in your lives like a husband and father. People cherish what they put more effort into. Weren't you extremely pleased when Jace Gu chose to save your son at the hospital last time? After fishing for so long, once you push me out, you can move in and continue living the good life, with both fame and fortune. Seeing me expose her so bluntly, Joy Chin stopped pretending, took out a handkerchief and wiped away her tears fiercely, with not a trace of sadness left. Is it wrong for me to want a good life? It's only that Ju Changqing had bad luck, dying so early and leaving me with a son. Speaking of her son, Joy Chin curled her lips in disdain. All he does all day is eat and sleep and eat, completely useless. But his Ju Changqing's son, how could Jace Gu bear to ignore his good brother's son? I often invite Jace Gu to my house in the child's name, and then show weakness appropriately during our time together, which makes him feel sorry for me. Speaking of this, she smoothed out the wrinkles in her skirt triumphantly. Women, you should still show weakness so men will cherish you. Look how deeply Jace Gu loves me and can't bear to part with me. To talk about seducing a married man so grandly is truly disgusting. I showed a disgusted expression, not wanting to say another word to her. Alright, your goal is almost achieved. Jace Gu is yours. I wish you a happy marriage and a lifetime of love. As soon as she finished speaking, the door was pushed open. Jace Gu walked in, looking displeased. The door was ajar, It was unknown how much he had heard. Upon seeing Jace Gu, Joy Chin immediately reverted to her innocent rabbit persona and immediately explained her intentions to him. Brother Gu, I heard you were getting divorced, so I came to talk to Sister Zoe. I didn't expect Sister Zoe. Jace Gu's face was grim, and his tone was less gentle than usual. Joy, this is none of your business. Go back now, Yang is waiting for you to take care of him. Joy Chin was good at reading people's expressions and knew that it was not appropriate to say more at the moment. She could wait. With only one step away from success, the empty living room was once again left with just me and Jace Gu. Did you mean what you just said? I looked at him strangely. After all I've said, which sentence are you referring to? Jace Gu repeated through gritted teeth. Wishing you 100 years of happiness and a lifetime of love. Of course, it's true. Lovers finally getting married. I applaud it. Jace Gu sat beside me, turning to face me, our eyes meeting. Are you in such a hurry to push me to someone else? We're getting divorced. What's with all the ambiguity? I pushed Jace Gu away. I made myself very clear yesterday. In 6 years of marriage, you failed as a husband and a father. Rather than resenting each other, it's better to go our separate ways. It's best if you agree to the divorce, but if you don't, I'll take Anan back to Shenzhen. At worst, we'll live apart. Besides, you finally have the chance to marry Joy Chin. Don't you want to win the beauty? I didn't budge an inch, my attitude resolute. Jace Gu finally relented. I owe you and your daughter. If you want a divorce, so be it. You can take Anan with you. I'm a grown man. I can't raise a child. All the money in the house is yours, and I'll transfer Anan's alimony on time every month from now on. I snorted inwardly. Can't take care of a child. Didn't you do a great job raising Ju Yang? Now you can't do it with a daughter. All excuses. But Jace Gu agreeing to the divorce is the best outcome. I got up and went back to Anan's room, leaving him alone in the living room, having achieved the desired result. I slept soundly through the night. In the days waiting for the divorce to be approved, I slowly packed up Anan's and my belongings. The suitcase was packed with some items for the next few days. And the winter cotton clothes and trousers were sent directly back to my home in Shenzhen. The house in Shanghai was left to me by my grandparents and was transferred to my name on the day I came of age. Grandma often said that a girl's house is not just a house, but also her confidence and a way out. Now it seems that Grandma was really prescient. 10 days later, the divorce was approved, and Jace Gu and I went to complete the divorce procedures. I bought 2 sleeper train tickets to Shenzhen. Before leaving, I went to the gathering place of the sisters-in-law in the compound to say goodbye. I also took the opportunity to reveal the special relationship between Joy Chin and Jace Gu, how Jace Gu took care of Joy Chin and her son like a husband and father, and how much Joy Chin and her son depended on Jace Gu. The women's lives were monotonous and dull, and they loved this kind of ambiguous, scandalous gossip the most. Even if Joy Chin wasn't punished, she would be isolated by the women. After all, everyone has a man in their family, and the women don't want to invite a wolf into their house. It had just rained heavily the day I left, and the weather was slightly cooler. The train station was teeming with people. I sat in the waiting room and took out the thermos to give Anan some water. Suddenly, I heard someone calling me, the voice sounding somewhat familiar. Zoe Shin, Zoe Shin, Zoe Shin. I subconsciously stood up and saw Jace Gu anxiously searching for someone in the crowded waiting hall. He turned around, saw me, and ran over to hug me. Jace Gu's burning breath was in her ear, along with his ecstatic and remorseful murmur. Zoe, Zoe, I see you again. This is not a dream, not a dream. I love you. I stopped liking Joy Chin a long time ago. Taking care of her all these years was just out of guilt and unwillingness. I'm sorry. I fell in love with you a long time ago, but my slowness still hurt you. Listening to Jace Gu, I guess he must have been reborn like me. But so what? The damage has been done, and I'm lucky to have a second chance to save my daughter. I have truly and deeply experienced the pain of losing a daughter. The partiality and indifference were real, and I will no longer entrust my daughter's happiness to others. Divorce is a foregone conclusion, and I will never look back. I coldly pushed Jace Gu away, looking at him with neither sorrow nor joy. We got our divorce certificate the day before yesterday, so whoever you like in the future has nothing to do with me. Jace Gu grabbed my hand, trembling slightly. Zoe, you're back too, aren't you? Let's forget about Joy Chin. Let's start over as a family. The three of us, okay. I forcefully broke free from his grip, looked into his eyes, and refused with seriousness and sincerity. No, a broken mirror cannot be mended, spilled water cannot be gathered, the past hurts, pain, and grievances were all real, and I have no hope for you anymore. Jace Gu lowered his eyes in disappointment, seemingly sensing that my heart was as hard as a rock and unchangeable. Woo woo woo, the train was about to depart, and the conductor began to urge the passengers to board. Anan and I have to catch our train. Goodbye, Jace Gu. I stopped looking at him, carrying the suitcase in one hand and leading Anan towards the carriage with the other. Behind me came Jace Gu's excited shout, Zoe, I will never remarry, I will always love you. I smiled, not really caring. We're divorced, what does whether you remarry or not have to do with me? From now on, we're strangers, with only Anan as our sole connection. With the train attendant's help, Anan and I successfully found our bunk. The train slowly started moving. I watched the scenery outside the window slowly receding. The train only moves forward and never looks back. Life is the same, you must always move forward and never look back.